Morning.
Let's wait another minute and see if a few more people are going to join us, because this is a bit thin on the ground today. Oh, is it the 28th? Where is everybody? How's everybody doing?
Good, hot.
Hot. It's hot. We're cool today compared to the last couple of days. And I keep looking at my phone and it says, it's raining. And I look out the window and I'm like, it's not raining. Please rain. We need rain so badly. Everybody getting on okay with their presentations?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Good. All right, well, I'm not going to wait any longer because I've got some cool stuff to show you. So this week's chapter is on environmental health. They talk a lot about different poison items that you need to look out for in the home or in the workplace. They also look at radiation in different forms, air pollution, water pollution, but they don't go a lot into the plastic situation. So I thought it would be fun to look at some of the plastic problems that we're facing. And I have to say I did just watch a film earlier this year, and for the life of me I cannot remember the title of it. I was looking for it this morning. I'm like, what was it called? If I can find it this afternoon during office hours, I'll put a link up to it in the plastics folder. I have a whole set of links for you. And the film that I watched was very depressing, I have to say, firstly. And they were concentrating a lot on the fact that some of the strategies that I will give you are maybe not enough to save the turtles, dolphins, fish, and the ocean, and that we should be looking at the fishing industry, the types of netting that are being used, how much fish we're eating, and things like that. I found it very difficult to watch because from a health perspective, fish is a really good choice nutritionally on many levels, and so, to tell me that now I can't, that my dolphin safe tuna, because I spend extra money to make sure I'm buying the dolphin safe tuna, actually isn't dolphin safe because the companies pay the people that give it that label to give the label regardless. I'm like, no! So I will try and find that link for you. It's very interesting. I'm not sure what to do about my tuna consumption, I have to say. And I'm lucky that I have a partner that goes and fishes, so you know, that we get fresh fish without having to buy it and get it from the sea. But yeah, that was a difficult documentary to watch. So what I'm going to concentrate on is something that for me is a little more manageable in my daily life right now, while I'm struggling with this other new information. And I'm going to concentrate on things like plastic water bottles and, well, plastic bottles, period, and plastic straws and things like that, okay? So I hope that you find it fun and interesting and maybe something that you could tackle in your own lives. So the first, I've got lots and lots of little clips to show you, and hopefully some of it will be new information for you. If not all of it, that would be really fun if all of it was new. Oops, where's my, here we go. Not that one yet. What I want first is this one.
It's wordy and hard to read. It undermines the right.
This is the story of 3 plastic bottles, empty and discarded. Their journeys are about to diverge, with outcomes that impact nothing less than the fate of the planet. But they weren't always this way. To understand where these bottles end up, we must first explore their origins. The heroes of our story were conceived in this oil refinery. The plastic in their bodies was formed by putting oil and gas molecules together to make monomers. In turn, these monomers were bonded into long polymer chains to make plastic in the form of millions of pellets. Those were melted at manufacturing plants and refilled in molds to create resilient material that makes up the triplets of bodies. Machines filled the bottles with sweet, bubbly liquid, and they were then wrapped, shipped, bought, opened, consumed, and unceremoniously discarded. And now here they lie, poised at the edge of the unknown. Bottle 1, like hundreds of millions of tons of its plastic brethren, ends up in a landfill. This huge dump expands each day as more trash comes in and continues to take up space. As plastics sit there being compressed amongst layers of other junk, rainwater flows through the waste and absorbs the water-soluble compounds it contains, and some of those are highly toxic. Together, they create a harmful stew called leachate, which can move into groundwater, soil, and streams, poisoning ecosystems and harming wildlife. It can take bottle 1 an agonizing 1,000 years to decompose. Bottle 2's journey is stranger, but unfortunately no happier. He floats on a trickle that reaches a stream that flows into a river, and a river that reaches the ocean. After months lost at sea, he's slowly drawn into a massive vortex where trash accumulates, a place known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Here, the ocean's currents have trapped millions of pieces of plastic debris. This is one of 5 plastic-filled gyres in the world's seas, places where the pollutants turn the water into a cloudy plastic soup. Some animals, like seabirds, get entangled in the mess. They and others mistake the brightly colored plastic bits for food. Plastic makes them feel full when they're not, so they starve to death and pass the toxins from the plastic up the food chain. For example, it's eaten by lanternfish. The lanternfish are eaten by squid. The squid are eaten by tuna. And the tuna are eaten by us. And most plastics don't biodegrade, which means they're destined to break down into smaller and smaller pieces called microplastics, which might rotate in the sea eternally. But Bottle 3 is spared the cruel purgatories of his brothers. A truck brings him to a plant where he and his companions are squeezed flat and compressed into a block. Okay, this sounds pretty bad too, but hang in there, it gets better. The blocks are shredded into tiny pieces, which are washed and melted so they become the raw materials that can be used again. As if by magic, Bottle 3 is now ready to be reborn as something completely new. For this bit of plastic with such humble origins, suddenly the sky is the limit.
So, the garbage patch, yeah, 5 of them. Did you know about the garbage patch?
No, I did not.
No. Okay, and I put up another link this morning that I found on YouTube that has some other information on the garbage patch, which is really interesting. Yeah, the water bottle idea is relatively easy. You can get a refillable water bottle anywhere from really cheap to ridiculously expensive. Our friend the thrift shop, we love the thrift shop. Oftentimes you'll be able to find water bottles at the thrift shop, and you can get quite a good quality water bottle for very little money if you're lucky. We have a couple of great thrift shops in town here. Those of you that are in Albuquerque are in thrift shop heaven. So yeah, that's one idea. At worst, if you've got a plastic bottle that you drank from, refill that several times before you put it in the rubbish bin, right? So try to use a plastic bottle more than once if you can, okay? So the next little bit of film is, she says, can I find the right one? There we go. Is a young lady who I'm thinking has this YouTube channel and blog. It all seemed quite organized, so I guess she posts things on a regular basis. But she did one that was trying to go a whole month without using single-use plastic. So this was quite interesting. I thought that you'd enjoy it. Hold on, let me see if I can get it back.
There are now more micro...
Because she's kind of your age, right? So this is someone who isn't my generation, who's got some information for you.
Plastics in the ocean, then stars in the galaxy. And it's all connected back to our insane consumption of plastic. That's why this month, I'm giving up single-use plastics. So I got my sandwiches, no plastic involved, getting ice cream, and I tried the flavor, and they gave me this. So I did my grocery shopping without using any plastic. I'm Lucy Vickers, and this is One Small Step. Since the 1950s, plastic waste has grown dramatically, from virtually nothing 60 years ago to 300 million tons in 2015. And 50% of that waste is single-use. Lots of it ends up here, with millions of tons polluting our environment and oceans each year. Rebecca Prince-Ruiz started Plastic Free July in 2011, with now 3.4 million people from 177 countries participate in the challenge each year.
I didn't set out to start a challenge or a movement. I just set out to change myself and my family after going to a recycling facility and just seeing how much waste that we produce. I think we're so disconnected from our waste. We just don't realise the more that we do to reduce, reuse, refuse, rethink our waste in the first place, it's just a much bigger impact that we're going to have.
This month, I'm challenging myself to avoid and find alternatives to single-use plastic. I understand that skipping plastic may not be an option for differently abled people or for people with children. I also know that I'm privileged to be able to try this in the first place. Still, I'm going to do the best that I can for what works with my lifestyle.
It's my first day at work with this new commitment, so I'm gonna go get some breakfast. Normally I would get like a granola bar, but granola bars are in plastic. So I'm gonna get a croissant, because I know that the baker's gonna give it to me in paper. Thank you so much. It's the end of the day, and I'm about to catch my train home, and I'm really hungry, and I'm realizing one of the hardest parts of this challenge is gonna be snacking, because all snacks are in plastic.
Almost every snack package, chip bag, candy wrapper, all of those flexible, multi-layer plastic pouches, trash. They are not what it is. So for us, the rigid plastics move through our system really smoothly. Once you get that flexibility, now maybe it's blowing around. It might be more difficult to collect. It can get stuck in a lot of machinery that otherwise three-dimensional rigid things pass through.
The U.S. is the largest producer of plastic packaging waste per person, and our plastic recycling rate has stayed around 9% since 2012. That's low compared to the EU's plastic recycling rate of 30% and China's 25%.
Got my bagel.
Oh no, that's tinfoil.
Okay, so the bagel's in tinfoil, which is in paper, but not plastic. Oh.
Lunchtime.
Yesterday's thinking is done. You know what?
Hate these.
Go away. For everyone. Make a difference.
Let me see here.
I've avoided plastic, but I'm using a lot of paper, or I go for an aluminum can or a glass bottle. Why are those materials any better than plastic?
The thing about plastic and what's really driving this awareness is the litter impacts. If you've purchased something in a paper bag and that ends up as litter, that's going to have a very different fate than a plastic bag ending up in litter. The paper bag is going to biodegrade, it's going to break down, it's not going to stay in the environment for very long. But plastic, what it does is it breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces, and then it can be ingested by wildlife or entangled wildlife.
On and on the street, this is probably not sanitary, but I would think so. Because this is future ocean plastic. Stuff like this gets washed down drains and into the ocean, and then it gets eaten by fishies. Put another one, you guys, these are everywhere. And now about 5, and I'm definitely gonna wash my hands. Bye. Goodbye.
After cigarette butts, plastic food wrappers, bottles, caps, straws, and bags are the top 5 most found items in beach cleanups. One recent study estimated that 140,000 plastic straws are in New York City's waterways alone.
We just went on a shoot, we were filming, I'm so thirsty because I left my reason water bottle. Can't drink any of that.
1 million plastic bottles are bought around the world every minute. That number is expected to increase by another 20% by 2021.
I obviously can't take a coffee to go cup, so I've got this nifty reusable cup and I'm gonna go get some iced tea inside of it.
Americans consume 400 million cups of coffee every day. Even paper coffee cups are lined with plastic so that they can hold hot temperatures. But that means in most cases, they can't be recycled.
Iced tea. So I'm doing no plastic. Yes, are you doing it too? Or are you Right. Right. Cheers to our reusable containers. I love that. Yay. So today, to avoid plastic, instead of taking a to-go container, I've asked for my lunch to stay, and I'm using a real plate and real silverware. What an idea. So why is small pieces of plastic so hard to recycle?
Because of their size or how thin they are, a lot of facilities like ours we use a lot of screening mechanisms when they're receiving glass and other things that want to break up filter out first. So really small items, less than 2.5 inches, would usually kind of be included in what gets filtered out initially, which can make it hard to recover down the line. So that's one of the main reasons why straws and caps can be really challenging for us to recover.
So would it be better if you were using a straw or a cap or cutlery to put in the recycling bin or just to put it in the trash?
First of all, I would always encourage using less of those kinds of tricky items. So using a durable metal straw that you bring with you, or having your own coloring books. But if you are using a straw, if you are using single-use cutlery, In New York City, it's okay to still put it into plastics, but honestly, in most places, probably a better bet is to be just putting it in the trash if it's not getting as well.
40 billion plastic utensils are used every year just in the United States. In 2016, France became the first country to announce a total ban on plastic cups, plates, and cutlery, to go into effect by 2020. Costa Rica has gone further, plans to replace single-use plastics with renewable and compostable alternatives by 2021.
But the people who continue to use single-use plastics derived from petrol will have to pay a fee or a levy or a fine. And the people who are concerned with the environment, who stop using single-use plastics, will not have to pay that fee or that levy. So that's an economic disincentive to the use of single-use plastics. It might be true that single-use plastics or the material from which we develop these plastic bags or these straws or these coffee removers might be cheaper than something that's biodegradable source or something that's compostable source, but it's not really cheaper because when you think about the environmental externality that is attached to the cheapness, there's no economic sense.
One of the easiest ways I've realized to cut out plastic is to just say no to the plastic bag. Right now, my purse is acting as a bag for my sandwich.
Shoppers in the United States use almost 1 plastic bag per resident per day. Compare that to shoppers in Denmark, who on average use only 4 plastic bags a year. There's 40 countries around the world that have banned, restricted, and taxed plastic bags. Here, California is the only state to do so. And it's actually more common for states to ban plastic bag bans than the plastic bags. So far, 9 states, including Idaho, Arizona, Michigan, Missouri, and Florida, have done this.
I've saved so much money because I really don't get to-go coffee cups, to-go teas. This is only the second one I've gotten all month. And that's because I can't use those to-go containers. So definitely one perk is saving money because you're really more thoughtful about what you consume.
Remembering our reusables is always my top tip because, let's face it, most of us have reusables, whether it's shopping bags, water bottles, coffee cups. We've got those things already, but I always say that they're not reusable if you don't bring them with you.
So this is something I'm calling secondhand plastic, where basically I didn't buy the plastic, but I definitely am benefiting from the use of plastic. This happens all the time, and just something that's a real reality of this challenge.
So this stuff all came in plastic. My sister bought it for me because she's cooking me dinner, and I'm still going to eat it because I think it would be wasteful and stupid not to, as well as kind of rude.
40% of plastic packaging waste comes from food packaging. Plastic packaging does have some environmental advantages. It can decrease food waste by increasing shelf life. Take cucumbers. It can keep them on the shelves for 2 weeks rather than 3 days. But researchers also found that the packaging might increase food waste by forcing you to buy more than you need. Some customers have taken the plastic packaging issue to the grocery stores by staging plastic attacks and putting all of their plastic packaging for the retailer to deal with.
Now I'm going to go grocery shopping without using any plastic. I've got these nifty reusable bags. I'm going to fill them up at bulk bins and make some delicious dinner.
I'm lucky that I can go to a store with a bulk food section. Although bulk stores are increasing across the U.S., they're not very common. Some states only have 2 bulk stores, while others have dozens.
This only has a tiny rubber band, so I'm going to take it.
I'll wash it really well later.
These have little stickers, but I'm going to take them anyway. So I made this whole meal, and this is the only plastic that I used.
By 2050, there will be around 12 billion tons of plastic litter in landfills and the environment. By then, the plastics industry could account for 20% of the world's total oil consumption. This trend is not slowing down. In the U.S. alone, producers of the common form of plastic, polyethylene, are expected to increase production capacity by as much as 75% by 2022. The UN estimates the cost of plastic packaging in our environment is $40 billion.
The linear economy, in which you just extract something from the soil, you use it for a couple of minutes, and then you have a waste problem, it's no longer valid. It's no longer economically or ecologically or even politically valid.
After spending an entire month trying to avoid single-use plastic, I realized how much it's a part of our disposable culture. Experts that I spoke to told me that in order to solve this plastic pollution problem, we have to move toward a circular economy, where all of our waste is reusable or recyclable, and where the responsibility of recycling our waste falls not just on the consumer, but also on the manufacturer waste the plastic in the first place? What is your one small step that you take to avoid single-use plastic? Let us know in the comments and share this if you liked it. See you guys next time.
Okay. Now, so you can see it's actually quite tricky to avoid these single-use plastics. And I think, so having your own bag, again, you could make them if you're that way inclined, but buying cloth bags, you know, yes, it's an outlay at the beginning, but they last for donkeys, right? Years and years. So I think they're worth the outlay. One of the things I would say is, again, the straw idea. So I get frustrated when I go to a restaurant and they automatically give me a straw. Because you know once they've given it to you, whether you use it or not, they're going to throw it away. They're not allowed to put it back in the stash kind of thing. So that gets very frustrating. The chap mentioned different kinds. He mentioned a metal straw. That wouldn't be my straw of choice, because if you put it in an ice drink, it's going to get really cold and give you, I think, get ice burns on your lips. One thing you can do, if you've got it, again, like the plastic water bottle, right? If you've got a plastic straw, wash it really well, let it air dry, and use it again, right? So the single-use thing is an important concept to pay attention to. A plastic straw doesn't have to be single-use. I could use that multiple times before I felt that it needed throwing away, right? I have a glass straw, which is rather swanky, that I like. My favorite are my bamboo straws, because they're very light. The glass one's lovely, but it's a little bit heavier. My bamboo straws are really light, and bamboo is a renewable source, and so it's a great tool to have. You can, you know, again, you've got an initial outlay, but like on Amazon, you can get a pack of 4 or 5 straws for $10 to $12. So if you club together with a couple of friends and come up with $10, you can each have a bamboo straw for just a couple of dollars, right? So that's, I think, and the bamboo straws are cool because they come with tiny little washing up brushes so that you can push the brush all the way through the straw and clean it out really well, right? So that's, I think, you know, some ideas of things. But as I said, if you don't want to go and purchase a straw, at least try to give your plastic straws more than one use, okay? And then, let me see, 9:30. There was one, I've got to remember which one it is. Hang on, let me come back here. Let me come back here for a second. I want, which one has Plastic Ocean? Okay.
wonderful because it's durable, and plastic is terrible because it is durable. Almost every piece of plastic ever made is still on the planet in some form or another. Plastic production globally this year is expected to be more than 300 million tonnes.
Half of which we'll use just once and then throw away. By 2050, when the population explodes to almost 10 billion people, it's expected that plastic production will triple. The problem with that is that today only a fraction of the plastic that we produce is recycled. The rest ends up in our environment, and it's coating our lands and our oceans like a disease.
Garbage thrown away in the United States can make
There's
its
a
way
little
into
bit of repetition in this film.
Plastic in our coastal waters is pulled into the centre of massive wind-driven, churning circular gyres. There are many other ocean currents also diverting the trash all around the surface of the ocean. In reality, it's just one ocean with no boundaries. Lord Howe Island is a World Heritage Site and home to migratory seabirds like the shearwaters. Seabirds are incredibly helpful because they act like an army of scientists. They travel thousands of miles across the ocean. They pick up plastic off the surface of the ocean. They bring it back to their rookeries where they feed it to their chicks. And that provides an incredible amount of scientific data in terms of where the plastic comes from, its distribution, and how it breaks up on the ocean surface. Dr. Jennifer Lavis, she's devoted her life to studying the plight of seabirds. Shearwaters are incredible birds. They migrate thousands of miles, stopping only here to breed.
Yeah, the stomach is very, very full, and if we look here, there's some very dark pieces, some very light white pieces, and if you see, as I push on this, it's absolutely rigid, completely full of plastic all the way up.
Look at that.
Absolutely no doubt this bird died as a result of that plastic. That is literally a gut full of plastic. It's quite alarming, isn't it?
It's awful.
Range of plastic types and colours. We've got everything from the blues and the reds
His
to
stomach's just filled with it. Big pieces too.
big sharp
Heavy.
pieces.
Oh wow, look at the size of that big black piece.
That is an enormous piece of plastic.
Unbelievable. Look at the size of that.
So we'll stop it just after this. I just want you to see what came out of that bird.
Jen, I counted 234 pieces of plastic out of that one bird. Is that a record?
Not even close, unfortunately. So for the species, the record is 276 pieces of plastic inside of one 90-day-old chick. And that plastic, when we weighed it out, accounted for 15% of that bird's body mass. So that's a pretty scary statistic. If we translate that.
So all these links are up, and you can go back and watch them again or finish them. The one other thing I have up there for you is a plastic pollution primer and action toolkit. So it's a couple of years old now, and I have not had the chance to see if they have updated this, but it gives you a way, just gives you some strategies: reduce, refuse, reuse, recycle, remove. So there's some information that is similar to what we've seen in the films, and then some additional resources. And where's the info on the ocean? I want the the actual page number, Sarah. Okay, what can we do? Let's have a look here. We must be getting to that. Sorry. All right, reduce. So, do I need it? Can I use something else? Right. What can we do differently to reduce our plastic consumption? So I like this workbook because it's got these things that you could use with your family or with your students in your PE classes or even with your clients, or you could put them out at the recreation center if you're working at the recreation center. And then refuse. So if you're going to refuse, that means you have to have options with you, so that you can refuse the plastic that's being offered, the single-use plastic. And how can I refuse plastic? Reuse, right? So some ideas on reusing things and recycling. Now, the recycling is tricky because it depends where you live. Here in Portales, the only place you can recycle plastic is at the city dump. So that's what we do in my house. We save it all up and then every now and then go to the city dump and put it in the recycle bin there. All the recycle centres up in Clovis do not have plastic or glass. They do cardboard and they do aluminum cans. Aluminium in my country. So, you know, there are opportunities to recycle certain things. If you're in a bigger city, Albuquerque has many recycling centers. Some cities may, give you a recycle bin and you have to recycle. I know when I lived in New Jersey for a while, donkeys ago, like 30 years ago, they actually would fine you if they found items that should have been in the recycle bin in your regular dustbin. So that was quite an interesting idea. In the UK, it's a bit haphazard. I know some towns have banned plastic. I wish they would ban that here in Portales because I'm tired of trying to pull them out of my tree in my yard. They fly around and they just get caught up in the tree and they're very unattractive and I don't want the birds getting caught in them. So it's a bit of a nuisance having to dig them out all the time. But yeah, lots of ideas. I hope that this has given you some food for thought. The cutlery thing, again, I'm going on my bamboo kick because they're cheap and easy to get hold of, easy to wash. I carry this with me whenever I travel. So it's got a knife that is surprisingly sharp, a fork, a large spoon, a teaspoon, some chopsticks, which I can't use, and another bamboo straw and a little cleaner. So that little pack comes with me wherever I travel so that I don't have to use plastic cutlery. However, again, if you do have plastic cutlery, use it more than once, don't throw it away, right? It's durable. So, have your plastic cutlery because they gave it to you without asking, whoever that is, right? Take it home with you. Wash it, take it with you the next time and say, I don't need cutlery, thank you. All right? On the paper front, slightly different problem, but I try to carry a bandana with me instead of using paper napkins, for example. And then one thing that I think is really easy to do, toothbrush, bamboo toothbrush. You can get those relatively cheaply. The straws, I think, the bamboo toothbrush, you're starting to look at some outlay that as a student I don't think you want to be spending that kind of money. The easiest thing you can do, so how many of you buy liquid soap for the kitchen or the bathroom?
I do.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy, right? So
Yeah.
don't do that, right? This is the easiest, cheapest first step, in my view, that you could take. Stop using liquid soap because they all come in plastic bottles and they've all got pumps and things on them that can't be recycled, even if the bottle can be recycled. Buy bar soap, right? It's cheaper anyway. In Walmart, if you want a soap dish, that's like, I don't know, $2, $3. If you find them on the sale rack, right? The colors that weren't bought, you can buy them on the sale rack, and you've got a non-plastic option for hand soap. If the soap holder is more money than you want to spend, go to our friend the thrift store and buy a saucer or a small plate for 50 cents and use that for your soap, right? The only additional annoyance about using bar soap is every now and then you have to wash out the soap dish because they do get a bit gungy when you're using bar soap, right? But there's no reason to use liquid soap when that's available. Okay, and if you're careful about which bar soap you buy, you can often buy them in cardboard boxes rather than wrapped in cling film. What do you call cling film? Like plastic wrap. Don't buy the bar soap that's wrapped in plastic wrap because that defeats the object. Buy bar soap that's in a little cardboard box that will biodegrade. Okay? So, so those are my ideas and some information for you all. As I said, that film that I just watched was very depressing because they were saying, oh well, changing out your straw really won't make a difference. But I don't think that's the point, quite frankly. I think changing out your straw or changing out your soap does make a difference because in the first place, it means that you're taking ownership of the impact you're having on the planet. Right? And if everybody changed out their liquid soap and their straw and their water bottle, that might not save hundreds and thousands of green turtles or whatever, but I think that it's a mindset that's important, right? We can't tackle the bigger problem if we haven't tackled the immediate problem that we're creating, in my view. Right? I have to understand the impact I'm having before I can tackle something that's larger than that. That's how this is what I can do, this is what I can manage, and I believe that it makes a difference. So, I don't know. What do you think? today's lecture make you rethink your kitchen?
Yeah.
Right? So, well, thank you very much. So if you go to the class notes and scroll down, there's a folder that says plastics, and in that folder are all the web links to these items. There are tons more. I mean, you only have to go into YouTube and type, you know, like environmental waste plastic, and you'll get hundreds of hits for films. Some of these clips are a little bit out of date now, so I'm going to try over the summer to find some more updated information for next year. But yeah, being aware is the first step, right? I'm aware of the problem. Am I willing to do one thing in my house to tackle the problem? That's, I think, the way to go. So, there you are. That's all I have for you. Any questions or comments or?
No, ma'am.
Gonna go away and research the garbage patch now. All right, well, have a lovely day. And Friday, remember, is a work day on your presentation with your partner, so please use that time wisely, because next week we are doing presentations. Okay?
On Monday, Wednesday, or Friday?
Yeah. Every day.
You know what I'm saying? Like, every day?
Yeah. I put up all the information for you.
Okay.